All right, all right, all right. Let me get you guys around. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's Thursday. It's time for our big design reveal. Today, we are going to make a bracelet helper, and we'll show you how to use them. Yay! Bracelet helpers really are helpful. I have to say, I had one, a store-bought made one that I had for years, and I didn't use it because the instructions, I don't know, they made it difficult. Anyways, we're going to show you how to use them, and, once you start using them, you may never be able to put a bracelet on without one again. But anyways, all right, I'm Paula Montgomery from Desert Cat Creations, and I want to welcome you to the Bead Stash Challenge. It's time for our Week 8 design reveal. We are, like I said, going to make that bracelet helper today, and I want to thank all of you for joining me and for showing your support. As always, you can show free support by liking our videos and by liking our page and following our page and subscribing to us on YouTube. Those are all ways to show your support, help me out, and it doesn't cost you a thing except for a little click on your phone. Okay, yeah, you might get a few more of my pop-ups, but I don't post all the time, so you guys are pretty safe from being flooded with things that I have. I want to remind everybody, I announced this on Sunday, but I do, because Easter's coming soon. We have a limited edition bunny kit, so those of you that have followed me for a while, bunny kits weren't the first kit I put out, but they were very popular. This limited edition set is a medium-sized bunny, and these are my copper bunny limited edition set. So they're all coppery and white. You may get a different mix for the legs if you have a specific request that you want all white or all copper. You can try, and I might be able to do that. But the set is $15. I believe $15. Like I said, these are limited edition, so some of the parts are a little more pricey. Things have gone up since our first bunnies were issued, but I will include written instructions. I hesitate. I really need to update my bunny tutorial, so the video instructions are going to be way better than the written instructions. But however, if you want these in time for Easter, please order them in the next week, because I will be traveling and I will not be able to mail things out for most of the month of March. So I'd like to get them out to folks before then. And if you order before the end of February, which is Saturday, I believe, you can get 26% off as part of our New Year's sale, okay? Hey, Lorraine. Just reminding people about the bunnies, but since I'm running a little late, let's go ahead and get started. I was thinking there was another announcement I had, but we'll go back to it when I remember it, okay? So let's zoom in a little bit and look at what we're going to make there. I'm going to pull one thing out, so give me a second. All right. Just to remind people, this is a bracelet helper. This one I made just by it's a lobster clip, or alligator clip, sorry, which you can buy just the clips, which is what we're going to work with today, is just the clip, and we're going to use our own, our own wire, or you can buy them on the stick already, in which case you can just add some large hole beads and a stopper, and that makes a great one. If you want something for travel, you can go a little shorter. This one's, I think, 4 inches. I would say you don't want anything shorter than this, at least with the size of my hand you know, I need to be able to hold on to that to balance and reach my, but if you have smaller hands, 4 inches is fine. We made this one, I think maybe last time we made one. So I'm going to make something similar to this today. We used our own wire. We used a clip, and we even had some dangles on here. So that was kind of fun. And then there's just another one. So you can also get them with the with a rubber tip. So if you have some sort of sensitive or dainty beads, the rubber tip is nice. But I will say sometimes the rubber tip gets a little in the way because it's a bigger space, right? If you don't want to find those on your own, I do have a non-jewelry findings kit that does include the ones with the sticks, and I usually haven't sent one of these out in a while, but I usually include a couple of just the clips as well that don't have any wire on them. But this non-jewelry and findings kit also has stuff for making bookmarks, keychains. It has some bigger hold beads that you can put directly on there. It has a couple of things to make cake testers. So anyways, you can make quite a few projects using this. So I think there's 1, 2, 3. So there's at least 4. You can make at least 4 bracelet helpers with that kit. And I believe those are $12 on our, and those are available anyways. So, all right. So we are going to make a bracelet helper today. Let's look at what we're working with. We have to use lapis in our design. Let me put my wire off to the side. So I pulled out, now the reason I'm using my own wire today is because I didn't want to use my big hold lapis, although I have to say this is a decent quality lapis that we're doing. So I pulled out some lapis beads, so that's our lapis requirement. Now you could, if you don't have lapis and you draw this card, you could always just use something that's that color. So any shades of blue, from denim to this darker blue that you traditionally see with lapis, you can go with the color, okay? So don't panic if you don't have lapis, all right? We need to use some clear beads, so I pulled out some clear crystals. These were kind of a fun little, I don't know, they're kind of a lantern shape, or, it looks kind of like a top of a wine glass, maybe. I don't know. They were just in a mix of beads I had, so they were clear, and so we're using them. They were the right size for what I wanted. Again, so we're going to use coral. Coral, again, you can use either the color or the material itself. So I've got a few beads that are sort of in a color, a corally orangish red. So we're going to use those. And then we had to design something inspired by the outfit I was wearing when I drew the cards, which you may not remember, but on Sunday I was wearing a sugar skull, purple shirt with a sugar skull. I decided I didn't want to try to mix purple in there. So I pulled out a couple of a sugar skull charm. I also pulled out a skull, so I hadn't decided if I'm using the skull, but I'll definitely use the sugar skull. So that's the beads we are working with today. And then, like I said, we are going to use we're going to start with just the alligator clip. Now, you may or may not have these. You can probably get a small pack of these at your local hardware store. I think I got 100 of them online or something, but they're also great for, you can use these just by themselves as bead stoppers. So if you're stringing, you can clip this onto the end of your string to hold your beads in place. So they can also be used for that purpose. So just want to put that out there, all right? So, all right, so let's just put these beads away. I haven't decided. I may not end up using these, but we'll get them out. We'll see. But I will definitely use this coral check bead here that I have. So I'm not, I'm not necessarily an orange or a red person, but I actually do love the kind of corally color. So I know it's weird because it is an orange and red. But you like what you like, right? All right, so let's start. We need to start first with doing something with this. So what I like to do is make, I like to open up this back of the alligator clip a little bit. So I'm going to take these are my metalworking pliers. So you'll need a decent pair, but I am just going to gently kind of roll that open. And I'm doing that so that we can lock our bead in there. So hopefully you can see that I have that gently pulled open. So it's not quite in a U shape, more of a horseshoe, maybe back there. All right. So then we are going to take, in this case, I'm going to use 18 gauge wire. You can probably use 20. It'll be a little wobbly, but it's, not going to really hurt anything. Now, I think, ultimately I want this to be about, how long are these? 6 inches is a good length, including the ending. But I'm going to work off the spool, so I don't know how much I'm actually going to use, but I'm guessing it's not going to be more than, if you wanted to pre-cut it, you could probably cut like 15 inches or so, and it would probably be fine. Let's leave those over there. And actually, I think I'll probably pull up my other place. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a wrapped loop here. Now you could just make a loop in the wire and just come down and not wrap it. But we're going to make a wrapped loop, okay? So we are doing our 90-degree turn. Now it doesn't have to be a big circle, but what I'm wanting to do is have something that fits like right in this little opening. So I'm going to go kind of towards the back of my pliers here. And we're going to twist that around. And it's okay if it's a little big, but we can check it. I'm going to stick it in there. Yep, actually that'll be, looks like it's going to be fine. All right, so since this is thicker wire, I'm going to hold it with my heavier pliers, and I'm going to use my other pliers to pull the end around and finish that wrap. And like I said, you don't have to work off the spool if you don't want to. I always feel like once you learn to, you don't go back, because it helps you save wire. So for starters. So what I want to do is just set that in there. I don't think it matters which way it goes. Straighten this wire a little. Now, you know, you only have a small amount sticking, or one width of wire sticking through there, but that's okay. Now I'm just going to use my parallel flat nose because they're easier, and I'm going to gently pull in one side. And I am pushing it down to hold that. And then I'm going to gently pull the other side over on top of it. And then I'm just going to, I'm using parallel pliers here, which I think works best for this. And I'm just kind of scrunching down on that. Now we're using big enough beads that it should look okay when we get to this back part here. But, oh yeah, I was thinking I could work off the spool, but I can't because I have to be able to put beads on. So, all right, people, work with me here. I did have coffee this morning, so I should be a little more chipper. Opposed to Sunday, I was dragging a little bit. Okay. All right, so I want this part, the main part, to be about 6 inches. I'm going to put a little loop on the bottom because I'm going to attach something to it. Okay, so I'm going to add another, like 3/4 for that. And then I have to add enough to wrap back up. So I am going to do maybe almost a foot. Okay. So maybe my first thing was quite a little off. So maybe 18 inches is a better start for that. All right. So now I just have to design my how I want my beads to lay on here. Okay, and whether or not I want to include my skull. So remember, when you're putting things on here, like if you're putting a larger bead or thicker bead, you know, you want it in the right place where it's comfortable to hold on to. So you may not want, you could either have that big bead directly against there, or, you know, a little further up. But it's not going to make that much difference. This one we used a bunch of different size beads, and it was fine. So maybe we will just start. I'm going to put a couple of these beads on, and let's see what. I'm going to try it with using like every other one, clear and coral, and let's see what it looks like. With lapis being, you know, our primary. So we'd have that design, you know, and then I'd start the clear again, or we can just do the clear and the lapis and then use our coral in our dangle. What do you guys think? Should I'll put a couple more on just so we get a good look at it while you're telling me whether you like the coral mixed in or just the clear. I can just take these back off. And then I also have to decide if I'm using my skull and where I'm going to put my skull in here, or just using the dangle. Do you like it with the coral or just the clear? You like the coral? Then I also have to decide if I'm going to use my my skull or just the sugar skull dangle. All right, I'll leave the coral in. So skull or no skull? I'm not sure I like the skull in there. I think I'll just stick with the sugar skull. So I do have to decide how long I'm going to make this. So what did I say, about 6 inches? So that's pretty close to 6 inches, so I may stop there. Although, actually, since I have to... Oh, no, this will be fine. All right, so now I want to make a small loop so I can attach a dangle to it. So we're doing our 90 degrees, and then we're going around our round pliers. And I'm going to grip that, and I'm going just tightening that up so these don't move much, because I want this fairly stiff. I don't want it too wobbly, which is also why I'm using the 18 gauge wire. So now I'm going to hold on to this, and we are going to wrap this up around these beads. Now, I don't know if I have enough to go around every bead, but we're going to try. And you're just wrapping, and you know, when you're kind of looping when you get to the space between the beads. I don't think we're gonna make it. Oh, all right, so I needed just a tad more, but it's okay. It made it almost all the way, so now I just need to carefully tuck that in. All right, now if you do a wrap like that and you find things are a little looser than you wanted, if you hold on to this end, and you can kind of turn things to tighten them up. So I do this on my other figures sometimes. So, but you know, it's not super stiff, but it's decent. It's not gonna bend unless I really want it to. All right. So then I thought I would do a little dangle with the sun and this sugar skull, because I gotta get my skull in there, remember? Get these guys out of the way. So I'm going to use 20 gauge for this just because I think my I don't think I can use 18 with this bead. All right, so let's make a loop. Now I'm going to attach the charm to this, so I want it big enough that the charm can move around. You know, you don't want the charm to be stuck in place. So we'll double check it. So see, I can flop it around. I'm just going to hold that. And we're going to do that wrap. All right, if you guys are liking this, let me know. I can't tell if my, sometimes I can't tell if my phone is, sometimes comments get frozen, so I can't always tell if people are, are there. All right, so I did that first part. Now I'm going to do the part that's going to connect to there. It doesn't have to be a huge loop, but you know, I'm going to do about the same size as I had there. So then I want to leave enough to wrap. All right. So now I am just sliding that onto that loop that I left at the end. And you know, if you really wanted to, you wouldn't have had to necessarily put something there, but I had to add my sugar skull, so that's how I chose to do it in this case. But you know, I could have put the skull into my design and then I wouldn't have a dangle, but I actually kind of think the dangles are cool. Doesn't make your bracelet helper work any better though. It just looks cooler. All right, let's see if that's tight enough. Let's see if we can tuck that end in. Get my needle noses out because I find them the best thing for tucking ends in. Okay. All right, and then so I kind of want my my bead and my charm to be facing the same direction, so I want to make sure this bottom one, you know, is kind of parallel to the bead. Now, let's see. My bead's not locked in necessarily, so it is going to flip around, but that's okay. I think I have not a good there. All right. Yay. Wire. Get my pliers out of the way. I'm going to, I'm not sure my my comments are working today. All right, so there we have it. We have our bracelet helper. Now, if you wanted, and I probably would, I might, what I would have done is make this wire wrap appear longer, and then I would have wrapped it around here a couple times just to make it look pretty. Now I could go ahead and add some wire there. I could use So we've got some 22 gauge blue wire, which would look perfect with this lapis. So, I could wrap that around here just to make it look pretty. There's a couple things I can do here. Because it's not, I don't necessarily like how this top part came out, but like I said, I could, let's try it. I'm going to take this blue wire because it's kind of it actually matches with lapis really well. And if you like this blue wire, this is one I do have on hand. I'd have to look up the price for you, but I do have it in 20 and 22 gauge. But right now I'm going to cut about 15 inches of wire. Although again, this might be one of those cases where I want to work off the spool. So I'm going to just take this and we are going to just wrap this just to make it a little prettier. Yeah, I do love this blue wire. We got it for our peacock kits, but it works for other things, right? And when you're doing something like this that's kind of flat, you want to periodically stop and just kind of squeeze it to tighten that on there, because you don't want it to come off, right? But yeah, the bottom of this clip is not very pretty, so it may be worth the extra time to do this. I have a, I'm pretty sure they don't have it anymore, but I have some 18 gauge coral wire from Softflex. It was a closeout color a couple years ago. I almost used that as my coral today on my design. But basically I'm wrapping all the way back up, to all this ugly silver part, right? Not that silver's ugly, because silver's not. I love silver, but it's not beautiful on this clip, okay? And I am just going to keep going until I cover this, well, probably till I run out of wire, or until I cover this loop. Didn't necessarily wrap real well on that when it went onto the connection, but I think it's okay. All right. Now, for something like this, I am gonna, there's a little hole here. I'm gonna try to make that go into the hole. And then I am gonna squeeze it together from there. Let's see where the end came out. But, oh well. All right, now I'm just gonna wrap this other end. You want to leave a little out, so you have something to hold onto, but then you want to Make sure you get it tucked in. All right. Well, I don't know that that made it that much more beautiful, but it's a little better designed. You know, you could bit beads on that. You could do all sorts of things to kind of make it pretty around there. Just don't block your ability to open the jaws on your clip. So, all right, let me move all that. So there's our finished bracelet helper. Isn't that fun? It's got and just a reminder of how we make this work. So I use it a lot with lobster claws, but it can be used even just to hold your toggle. Okay, so but how I prefer to use it is I take my clip, I open it up, and I stick it like right next to the loop. So whatever I'm hooking the lobster claw into is what I'm holding, okay? And then I'm going to hold this with my hand like this so that, you know, that bracelet is sitting down there on my wrist. And then I'm going to pick up the other end, open the clip, and just slide it in. And I'm not struggling because it's holding it still there, right? Now, the other way that sometimes the directions on the old ones tell you, if you have a hard time with holding your clasp open, is you can open this clasp and then you use the grip so that it keeps the clasp held open. I don't know if you can see that. So basically I'm holding the clasp open. It's open here, right? And in this case, I'm going to be coming around the other side. It doesn't really matter, but all right. And I am just going to slip that loop over my open clasp, and then when you release it, it closes. Pretty nifty, huh? The blue and coral is a good, yeah, lapis and coral always go well together. So do turquoise goes wonderfully with either one of them too. So I looked out that those colors worked out in my thing. All right, so there's our bracelet helper, and we showed you how to use them. Okay, and again, our limited edition bunnies, $15. We have, you know, I probably have about 10 kits. We'll somewhere in there. All right. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out. Oops. Sorry. Hit the wrong button. All right. If you have any questions, just please reach out to me or make a comment. I will get back to you guys. Just want to show you, I am wearing one of my shamrock pendants we made. So again, if you have leftover hearts, you can make a shamrock. It may not be green. You may not have green hearts like I do, but you can make your shamrock in different colors. So, well, good luck with your show, Janelda. Thanks for catching me, and thanks always for all you folks that follow me. Again, if you want anything that I have for sale, please get your orders in before by Friday at the latest of this week, because otherwise I will not be shipping until after the 26th, which will be probably more like the 29th or so, whatever that Monday is the earliest I would be shipping things, because I'm going to be gone for quite a while. So we'll talk about that more on Sunday. But like I said, if you think you want anything that I have prior to that, or any bunny kits so that you have them in time for Easter, please let me know this week, and I will get those out to you. If you haven't already, please like and follow Desert Cat Creations on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. And that's a way of supporting me for free. And I will, I appreciate all that, and I, again, will not promise you, that I will, spam you with anything, because we have a limited number. Yes, so Sunday we'll be back at noon, our regular time. And we're flipping over the used pile, so our whole stash is open for business again with whatever we happen to be making. So that'll be exciting. So you never know what's going to come out of the stash stash of cards this week. So all right, I will catch you all on Sunday at noon Mountain Time. And if you can't make it, catch the replay. The replays are always available over on YouTube, and they're available on Facebook for 30 days. So, oh, thank you, Lorraine. So I wanted to show you guys that, I mean, it really does, it does make a cute pendant. And like I said, I did make the, I will post up that video again, but I made one out of purple, which I think would look good too. So even if you don't have green hearts, but you have some other color hearts, you can use those to make a shamrock. Okay. So, all right, I will catch you all on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Bye.